Alright, so here's my review for Wonder Woman 1984. If you haven't seen the watch party for it, I already did a full commentary for the movie. It's in the description below. You can come and watch it with me. I had a drink. I had my drink while I was watching it because it's not a movie you really want to watch sober. I think a lot of people made that mistake going in. If you watch the trailers, you probably were getting hyped for this movie, and I think it's best to keep your expectations in check when watching this movie. I know I did. I wasn't expecting that much. Definitely wasn't expecting it to be as good as the first movie. I was expecting it to be around Aquaman, and I like Aquaman. I think the movie's really good, but this did not reach Aquaman levels for me. Mainly because there probably wasn't enough action in it, first off. But still, I was definitely surprised by the turns the movie made. I was not expecting magic at all. Not expecting it at all. And in the end, the movie was good. But it can be better. As Pedro Pascale's character, Maxwell Lord, said in the movie. And yeah, there's a bunch of little things they could have did to make the movie just a little bit better. Number one, I think just focusing the movie on Cheetah and Diana's relationship probably would have helped the movie a shit ton. A shit ton. I would even go a step further, and I would have made them a couple in the movie. That way, when you bring back Steve Trevor, there's actually some drama there. There's actually a triangle going on. And you could have had something happening in the movie. Because for a lot of the movie, you really don't care what's happening. Unless it's Pedro Pascal on screen as Maxwell Lord. I think he was the most interesting character in the movie by far. By far. Pedro killed in the role. I really love the story with him and his son and stuff. And he's like, I'm not a loser! I love that stuff. I thought it was great. Lots of cheesy moments in the film. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by the amount of cheese in the film. But Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman, came out and she was talking about how she doesn't see it as cheesy. She sees it as sincerity. So take that with, what you want to make out of that. I don't know what that means, really. I think it's just cheesy for cheesy's sake. She's a big fan of the Richard Donner 1978 Superman movie. Was that the year it came out? 1978? Big fan of that movie. Inspired a lot of scenes in the first Wonder Woman movie. If you remember the alley scene, pulled straight from the Superman movie in 1978. And she paired up with Jeff Johns to write the script. And Jeff Johns was an intern for Richard Donner, so he's also a big Richard Donner fan. So you had two people that were really into the Superman 70s nostalgia kick. And you got Wonder Woman 1984. And I don't think it was a big shocker. I think people should be expecting that going in. But still, Wonder Woman. Let's talk about Wonder Woman for a second. Gal Gadot. There's moments in this movie where she is very good. She is very good with Steve Trevor. All her moments with him. And, when she has to let him go and she's crying. I felt the tears coming. I felt the emotion. But there's other moments in the movie where she's like giving exposition, and just reading dialogue off a page, and it feels very flat, and you can't really get invested in it. So that stuff wasn't as good. So she was kind of let down. I didn't see much improvement from her, honestly, from the first movie. That might be mean to say, but still, it's honest. Kristen Wiig's Cheetah shocked me. I was not expecting Kristen Wiig's Cheetah to be that good. I was expecting far less, but she stepped it up, and I believed every word she said throughout the whole movie. And her transformation to Cheetah comes very late into the movie, which was a disappointment for sure, because I was hoping we would actually see the transformation. Maybe that was too intense for audiences. I think it would have been just fine, honestly. I would have been just fine with it. I definitely would have been just fine with it. And let me turn off this so we don't get any more fucking sound effects from the computer. But still. Yeah, what was that? Yeah, Cheetah changing. I do like the way she actually looked, though, as a cheetah. I like that. I like the fight. A lot of people were complaining about the fight. Too much CGI. I don't know how you're supposed to do a superhero fight without CGI. You know, maybe someone could figure that one out. How are you going to do a superhero battle with a fucking living cheetah unless it's CGI? But still. Let's go to Maxwell Lord's character, Pedro Pascale. He was my favorite part of the movie. He makes the movie worth watching. I've seen the movie like 3 times at this point. Once in the theaters too, which, by the way, if you weren't lucky enough to see it in theaters, I'll tell you right now, there was a lot of families in the theaters. So there's clear, they knew the demographics. All right, I saw little kids in the theaters watching the movie and liking the movie. You know how kids like the movie is when you don't hear the kids. You know what I'm saying? You don't hear the kids running around or, being loud. They sit there and watch the movie. That's how you know a kid likes the movie. And there's actually some audience scores out there, and it's like 86% positive amongst kids that saw the movie. So they definitely were pointing to that demographic, and I think they captured that audience for sure. It is definitely more family friendly than the first film, by a country mile. Definitely more family friendly. Of course, this movie was made during a time where, after Justice League, where DC doesn't really know what to do with the movies. They're trying to make it family friendly. They're trying to get away from the dark, gritty Batman versus Superman that everybody hated. But for some reason, it's still one of the best movies in the DC universe. Even though everybody hates it, it's still one of the best ones. And that's how you get Wonder Woman 1984. That's how you get such a drastic shift here. And now that it's split again, because Wonder Woman's getting the same critical and audience scores that Aquaman got. So pretty much split. A majority of people like it, but there's a lot of people that don't like it. Same thing with Aquaman. I don't get people that don't like Aquaman, by the way. I don't get those people. The movie's fine. It's very Aquaman. Just like this Wonder Woman movie is very Wonder Woman. It's very Wonder Woman. You even got an invisible jet in it. You know what I'm saying? So it's very, very Wonder Woman. I'm looking at my notes right here. So like I've barely any notes. It's like 2 words, like Cheetah, Cheetah, Wonder Woman, Pedro Pascal. Like that. Those are my fucking notes. But still, I felt some emotion in this movie. It's not like the movie's completely hollow, and I don't buy people that say the movie has no merit or it's like completely like unwatchable, horrible. I think that distinction belongs to Birds of Prey, because that movie is diarrhea on a screen. And Wonder Woman 84 is definitely better than that. It's definitely more Wonder Woman than we ever really got. It's a lot closer to her character. The whole ending battle with, after she beats Cheetah, of course, the whole ending part with Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord and a Wonder Woman talking him like off the ledge, essentially. He's about to get all his power, and she talks him down, and she talks to the world to end the movie, to solve the finale. That is very Wonder Woman. That's very Wonder Woman. She could beat the shit out of everybody. She could beat up Batman, but her main power is love. She is all about that. She knows how to connect to everybody on the planet, and she knows how to get the best out of people. And that's what Wonder Woman, that's her thing. And that's how the movie ends. Like, I can't really find a problem with that. I can't really fault the movie for doing that. If we remember the first Wonder Woman movie, how does she defeat Ares? She just says, it's her love for Steve and him sacrificing himself, and then she stops Ares with like the power of love. It like stops his fucking like swords that are flying at her, right? And it's just like this wall of like love or whatever bullshit. But still, that's how she defeats Ares. They kind of continue that with this movie, right? So nothing's really out of character, but the movie's a mess. It's a little bit of a mess. It's a little bit all over the place. And that's where we get, like, it's a good movie, but it can be a lot better. A lot of people are noticing a lot of problems with it, because it definitely can be a lot better. It definitely can be a lot better. Like I said earlier, you just fix some of the relationships in the movies to make it more interpersonal, And all of a sudden, the movie's a lot more interesting, right? Like if Cheetah and Wonder Woman actually become lovers and then Steve comes back, all of a sudden, the movie's like way more interesting. And Steve coming back, this is a huge problem amongst people in the world on Twitter. Twitter's not really the world, but like people think Diana raped this guy that Steve Trevor has possessed, has taken over his body. And Diana had sex with him because she sees Steve, and it is Steve in the body. And everyone say that's rape because the original host of the body is not consenting. And my argument is, number one, it's a movie. Number two, it's fucking magic. And number three, I don't give a fuck. You know, if Gal Gadot is having sex with you, you know, you just have to take one for the team. You're just going to take one for the team. I don't see much of a problem with it, personally. I think everybody that's finding problems with it, they're all prisses, really. They're all fucking little dainty prisses. But still, this is the DC universe. There is an afterlife. Clearly, Steve Trevor came back from it. So, when he takes over whatever body, some random dude's body, that dude, his soul that's in that body has left it, and it's now in the afterlife. It's either in heaven, hell, or limbo. I would assume limbo, because he's not supposed to die yet, so he's probably like floating around limbo, and he's probably hanging around with the Spectre, you know? I think that would have been a cool little tie-in if they figured out how to put the Spectre into the movie. That would have been interesting. And then the guy could have saw Wonder Woman having sex with his body with Steve Trevor in it. You know, the Spectre's like, do you see? Like, that would have been interesting. But there is an afterlife. Therefore, the original host of the body is not in the body, so you don't need his consent. He's not actually there. It's Steve Trevor that's there. It's not like the movie Get Out, where the dude is trapped subconsciously in the body and he has no control over the body. Not like that. It's not like that at all. He's probably hanging around the afterlife. And the random dude that Steve Trevor takes over, that's the weirdest part. It's like, why this specific person? Like, why? I don't know. I don't know why. I would assume that guy is a descendant of the Steve Trevor bloodline. I would assume that because, you know, it could easily be a descendant of Steve Trevor's bloodline, right? That's how the comics work, right? That's how Steve Trevor's always around Wonder Woman, even though she's in a bunch of different time periods. It's like Steve Trevor's grandson, and he looks just like Steve Trevor, and like that's why he's hanging around Wonder Woman. That's why Wonder Woman hangs around him and stuff like that. That kind of shit happens in the comics, but they didn't go that route. Which they could have easily. They could have easily been like, oh, he's a descendant. Oh, Steve Trevor was my great grandfather. You know, whatever. You know, that's how they could have handled it, but they didn't. And that's an interesting thing about this movie. They put a bunch of different plants, you know, a bunch of different like things they set up that pay off in the movie, and then there's some things they don't set up at all, and it leaves your head scratching as to why it's in the movie at all. Like the Wonder Woman making the jet invisible, right? They don't set that up at all in the whole movie, but then she does it, right? But it's so weird because they'll set up other stuff, like they'll set up the fact that Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, she knows a dude that's working at the White House, and that's how they get into the White House. They set that up earlier in the film. You set that up, right? But you don't set up Zeus's powers of invisibility that Wonder Woman has been trying to learn for a century. Like, you don't set that up at all. Like, you could have took just a little scene of her just like practicing it on something, you know, and that's all you need. But instead it comes off as like they wrote it in last second because they wanted to have the jet invisible and they forgot to like set it up earlier. That's how it comes off as. And of course that is problem because you're thinking about that as they're in the jet and trying to get away, and it's stopping you from enjoying the scene. But then for me, like the second the jet goes in the sky and becomes invisible, I kind of, you know, forgive it a little bit because it's a cool shot and it's like a great throwback to the invisible jet. And I like it. You know, I like the whole fireworks scene, even though once again that makes no sense. And that's another thing they could have set up again You know what I'm saying? They could have set up the fact that it was July 4th before they even got in the plane, right? They could have let the audience know that. But yeah. Highlights of the movie for sure is Maxwell Lord. Even though in the comics Maxwell Lord is not like this at all. He's not really going after magical wish stones all the time. But still, Pedro Pascal, his interpretation of the character completely sold it for me. I love what he did with it, and every time he was on screen, I just wanted to see more of him. And I'm sure there are some deleted scenes of him. I would like to see more of that. Like, how does he know about the magic? That's another thing. Like, he knows about the stone, clearly. He sees papers on the desk of the stone. He's been researching it a long time, but how does he know magic exists? Like, how does he know it's going to work? Like, he's so 100% dead set on the stone, and, like, he knows for a fact it's going to work. Like, how did he know that? Like, give me one scene at the beginning where he's taking all his investors' monies from this Ponzi scheme he's created to get the money to go find the stone, right? Like, that's what I would have did. That's what I would have did. I would have took him, like, he's getting money from investors for oil or whatever, but then he's actually using the money to pay for archaeological, like, research to find the stone because he knows something that nobody else knows, and that's that there's a magic stone that grants wishes. And I don't know how he knows that. Like, give us something that tells us how he knows that. But still, the whole wish thing definitely threw me off the first time watching it. But as I watched it the second and third time, I kind of accepted the fact that we have, a magical wish stone that's granting wishes. And it takes something away from the person that's receiving the wish. I think that's a cool idea. I like that. I like the way it plays in the movie. Another thing, though. This all comes back to Jeff Johns, because he definitely co-wrote the script. You could tell because there's specific, like, Jeff Johns types of story tropes that he does in a lot of books. And it's the whole interpersonal relationships, right? So, like, the whole world is caving in. The world's ending. Magic is like a fucking full-on thing. All this background noise is happening. That doesn't really matter, because it's not really the story that's happening. The story that's happening is that Wonder Woman has to let go of Steve Trevor. That is, like, Jeff Johns writing 101. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all this world-ending shit, but it's really about, like, two people just having to let go of each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, there you go. You know what I'm saying? That was the whole point of the movie, really. And Pedro Pascal and his son, that's probably something that was also created to give him more of an interpersonal relationship with somebody else that you could give his character more dynamics, and you can make him more interesting and relatable, and he's not just some blank villain. And that's probably the best thing they did with Maxwell Lord, is that they didn't just make him some nothing villain that's just a guy in a suit. You actually felt for him. Especially, people want to bitch about this movie a lot, like it's worse than like Birds of Prey. You know what I'm saying? Like, for some reason, Birds of Prey has a 78 on Rotten Tomatoes. Figure it out. I can't. There's no story with that movie. There's nothing that happens in Birds of Prey that matters. And there's no characters you care about in that movie. Meanwhile, you got Wonder Woman right here, 84, a mess of a film, but for some reason, you care about some of these characters. And, like, you feel the emotion of some of these scenes. Way more so than you would in a movie like Birds of Prey. And, like, Suicide Squad, the David Ayer Suicide Squad, there's one specific scene where you feel the emotion, and that's the bar scene where El Diablo is telling his backstory, right? You feel that emotion for, like, that split second, right? You feel it. I don't care how good or bad the movie is. If you're feeling the emotion, they did something right. And in this Wonder Woman 1984 film, you feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of the, like, the whole Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, you're feeling that relationship. You're feeling the heartbreak, which she has to let go of him. That's what I'm talking about. That alone makes the movie good. So, the movie is good, but it can be better. There's a lot of things that we could change to make it better. The whole Cheetah thing, obviously, I said before earlier, but making her having a closer relationship to Wonder Woman would have made the movie, I think, 10 times better. 10 times better. But still, Kristen Wiig sells it for me, and she. There's a moment near the end where she's as Cheetah and she's fighting Wonder Woman, and like Wonder Woman's trying to talk her down, and she's like, "You're still patronizing me." Like that. That's the kind of like Cheetah villainous stuff that I love to see. I love to see that kind of stuff out of the villains, you know, because it's not like the villains are bad people, especially in this movie. They're not bad people at all. They're just too caught up in their own feelings to, you know, understand reason or something like that, which Wonder Woman's trying to reach Cheetah, but it's just not working. It's just not working. And she's like, "Oh, you're still patronizing me. You still think you're better than me." Good villainous stuff. Good villainous stuff. And then Pedro Pascale's Maxwell Lord at the end, where he's looking up at the beam, and the beautiful line music. That's another thing people don't talk about enough is Hans Zimmer's music in this movie. Hans Zimmer's score is pretty darn good. It's a little over the top, though. In some spots, it's just way too much. But then he brings back the beautiful live music, and then you're like, oh my god. Especially if you're a big fan of like BVS like me. Hearing that music definitely got me in the feels. It got me in the feels. And then when he has the lasso of truth around him, and he starts seeing his son just roaming around in a highway, he starts to scream for his son. He's like, "I gotta save my son." That, you know what I'm saying? You felt that. At least I did. Like, I'm like, oh my god, like he's finally coming back. You know, the madness. He got through the madness. He's finally coming back to the person he is, which is he's a loving father. You know, that's what he has to get back to, and Wonder Woman helps him get back to it. And he doesn't go to jail for everything he did. He doesn't go to jail for anything he did, which is fine. I'm fine with that. Cheetah's alive at the end of the movie. That's another part I feel like they could have just went balls to the wall and just killed Cheetah. It's 1984. It's not like we can have Kristen Wiig's Cheetah in the modern day, because she would be like in her 50s if you made a modern day Wonder Woman and you brought back that same character, right? They would be in their 50s. So they would be a cougar. You wouldn't be a cheetah anymore. You'd be a cougar. So that's fine with me. You know, I would have much rather Kristen Wiig just died right there. Cheetah just died right there. And it would have, you know, added something to the movie. It would have been like more stakes. You know what I'm saying? Like Wonder Woman would have had to gone through something like killing somebody that she's best friends with, like a former lover or something like that. Like she has to kill them because they're too far gone. That's definitely something they could have did. But once again, going back to what I said about demographics, this is clearly a family-friendly film. That's clearly what Patty Jenkins was doing here. That was her directive by executives and stuff. You know, you got to make it lighter. We're going away from the dark tone. And this is what you get. This is what you get. This is the Wonder Woman movie you get. And I think Walter Hamada, the DC Films president, came out, and he said something to the effect of, the Snyder Cut, the Justice League Snyder Cut is a cul-de-sac, and it's just not going to go anywhere. So they're committed to going this route. But, you know, after the reaction of this Wonder Woman 1984 film, they might pull back a little bit and be like, you know what? Let's just make each movie its own thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, every movie doesn't have to be dark and serious. Every movie doesn't have to be a cheesy, you know, fucking whatever Wonder Woman 84 is. You know, it doesn't have to be garbage like Birds of Prey. We could just make each movie have its own identity, right? Because Shazam, I felt like it had a little bit of that cheese in it, but there was still that moment where, you know, his mother doesn't want him back. Like, he finally found his mother and she doesn't want him. Like, that's a really dark thing to put into a cheesy, family-friendly film. And you could use more of that in these films. Wonder Woman, you have the whole heartbreak with Steve Trevor and stuff. By the way, Chris Pine kills it. He's one of the best parts of the movie. It's so fun to watch him and him play off Gal Gadot, because it makes her a better actor, having Chris Pine there. Makes her better. So we'll see if they bring him back. I doubt they're going to bring him back. He's dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, people come up with some wild theories that make no sense, but still, that's my Wonder Woman 84 review. I liked it. It was a good movie. It could have been better. It can be better. if we have some deleted scenes we could put back in. You know what I'm saying? If we have some bio theme. Dude, that was one of my favorite parts too of Pedro Pascal. That moment where they're at the party and he just leans in and goes, "Biotine." That stuff was great. Oh my god. Every little nuance thing he did with his facial expressions are, oh god. He definitely killed it. He was definitely the most entertaining part of watching that film. But anyway. Comment below. Let me know what you think of Wonder Woman 1984. Obviously, I liked it. I like it a little better on the second and third viewing too, because I'm used to the whole magic thing. But yeah, that first viewing was very jarring. Very jarring. I dropped that. Very jarring. I was not expecting the whole magic stone to be the thing. I think if they put that in the trailers, that would have made things better. If you knew the magic stone was the thing, you know. But, oh well, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, if you want to see more of me talking about Wonder Woman, I have the watch party up. I watched the whole movie. You can watch along with me. Yeah, start at the same time and watch along. It's a fun time. Get your drinks ready. Anyway, that's it for now. I'd give this movie probably a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Because the first Wonder Woman movie, I love that movie. I even love the third act with the Ares fight. I think that's like the highlight of the movie, really, is the Ares fight. A lot of people would disagree with that. But then again, a lot of people thought Batman vs. Superman was a 26% like crap, terrible film. It's not. Not even the theatrical cut of BVS is bad. But anyway. Comment below, let me know what you think. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye for now.